So invite yourself to your true nature, to the peace, the ground of being, the screen of consciousness. Which is always present as your very self. Which is non-judgmental, loving, effortlessly loving, easy and simple. That which I am. Uncomplicated by the past or the future, untainted by thought and memory, undisturbed. Like a dear friend, a loving friend that's available to you. That whose door is always open, always welcoming you. The more you visit this friend, the happier you are. You recognize yourself as this happiness. Notice how effortless this peace is. There are no stories about me, how I was, how well did I do, or how well will I do. effortless being. Whenever you're looking at something, you're imagining something. And you are looking at your imagination, which is fine as long as you know that you are looking at your imagination. Your creation. The creation of consciousness, not the creation of a personal mind. You are that which perceives, not that which is perceived. The creator and not the created. There is no need to struggle with that which appears. You can let go of the struggle by letting things be as they are. Appearances, vibrations, sounds. No need to concern yourself about that which appears, but simply be the flow. Like the riverbank is available, whichever way the flow flows. You are the entire flow. At the core of your being is the silent presence. undescribable via words. Take a break. Soak into that silence. Which is a silence that underlays the silence of the mind. It is that which links the form and the formless. You become more and more unknowing. Which is a complete availability unencumbered. Free from desire and the need to complete anything. Because it is complete already. And it's not segmented. The way the mind segment things. So the image of myself or the image of the other is a ripple on the surface of the ocean. The ocean is complete as it is. if you separate yourself and seek completion for a segment, that's an oxymoron. It's an illogical feat to accomplish. But in fact, you cannot divide the ocean. You cannot divide consciousness. You cannot separate yourself from the sound of the bird singing. Can you? From the breath, the heartbeat, the thought that arises to you. You are not a story in time and space. A father, a mother, a son, a daughter. You are not an object of perception or conception. The body-mind has whatever qualities it has. It differs from body-mind to body-mind. And for each body-mind, it differs across time and space. But that which you are, the reality of awareness, does not differ, does not vary across minds, It is the same awareness which perceives, the same self. So you recognize everybody as your very self, and everything as your body. And the more you visit this understanding, the happier you are. Because the veils of wrong identification, the veils of ignorance, they have no leg to stand on in the face of your understanding about the reality of consciousness. And the more you visit, I am this person, I am good, I am bad. I think they love me, or no, they don't love me. The longer this impression, this unhappy dream lingers on, so you take your stand as the formless reality that perceives this moment. And the eternity of being, the eternity of consciousness. Okay, so any questions?
Hey, Maggie, I've got a question.
Different.
Hey, I had this question for a while. I was been meaning to ask you this, but see what you think. I think on the subject. A friend and I were talking the other day about a certain, I guess you'd be called a guru, who used to smoke. He was enlightened, quote unquote, but he smoked cigarettes and sold cigarettes. And that kind of, that doesn't seem to go with my idea of what being enlightened is. And I don't even know if there is such a thing as being enlightened, but in my mind, anybody who is enlightened, it means that the person sort of has gone beyond a lot of the basic material characteristics of a human being, I guess you could say, especially beyond addictions. But I could be wrong. I'd like to know what you think about this.
Mm-hmm. Well, the main addiction is the addiction to the belief that I am a separate body mind. That's the core, the heart of ignorance, the heart of the matter. Because whenever we have not sufficiently investigated this belief and seen through its falsehood, the sense of separation continues, and the unhappiness due to the sense of lack and the fear of ending continues. So the investigation into the belief that I am a person existing in time and space, that I am the storyline of Megdi, or whatever body-mind story we may have, that I am this bundle of feelings, the more this has not been investigated, it continues to operate, and it's not possible to be happy under this the operation of this belief. So enlightenment is, I use the term enlightenment as a glimpse into truth, but sometimes some people use the term enlightenment in a broader sense. Using the term enlightenment in a broader sense. In a broader sense, enlightenment is a complete freedom from the belief that I am a mortal body mind, that I am born and that I will die, that this awareness, this presence depends on the body mind, or depends on the world, or depends on the brain, or depends on the universe. So enlightenment is a freedom from that belief, complete freedom from that belief, not just at the belief level, but also how this belief is being lived throughout our body and throughout our life in the feeling state. So we no longer feel that we are a person. We no longer feel that there is something at stake, that there is some imminent danger to myself. There may be a danger to the body, which I do my best to manage. There may be some kind of issues with my car, which I do my best to manage within my capacity. But there is no sense of danger to I, to the self. There's no longer a fear of uncertainty, and there is a certainty about your eternity and about your freedom and about your happiness, an absolute certainty, a sort of fearlessness. Now, in terms of addictions, there are some addictions that may be operating at the body-mind level. In the case of smoking, there may be a nicotine addiction, and you may be interested in being rid of this addiction or not. It really doesn't matter. What does it matter, really? Because it concerns the body, it doesn't concern you. So you may have a car that may not be the oil change may not have been changed in 10,000 miles, and you may not care. The engine may freeze on you at some point, I don't know, and you will be without a car. You know. So there is this sort of addiction that there is this conception about the guru, the sage, being interested in having a perfect body or a perfect world or a perfect mind. It's the freedom of the guru, it's your freedom, the freedom of consciousness, because the guru is consciousness. So it's a freedom of consciousness to work on overcoming certain addictions or not. Now, there are some addictions that may be harmful to others. And in that case, I would question the clarity of mind that is part of the awakening process. If your addiction or your actions are harmful or hurtful to others, I would do my best to adjust my behavior and my action in order to not to or to minimize the impact that I have on others. Now, there are some avoidable and some unavoidable impacts that you may have on others. Could be that some people have an issue with you being too quiet. or they have an issue with you being an extrovert, you see, and may upset them, say, oh my goodness, I'm upsetting people. But that's not really what I'm talking about, because it's not really bringing harm onto anybody. How you are, how you're acting is not bringing harm to anybody. So that you have to sort of determine for yourself if what you're doing is harmful. For example, in terms of smoking, I remember years ago, in the 70s, and I would go to restaurants, and I was not a smoker, and people were smoking in the restaurants at the time. I don't know if you remember, but it was disturbing to me. And often people were very accommodating. I would tell them, if you don't mind, could you not smoke, because it's disturbing me. In many cases, people were very accommodating. But there were cases where people didn't. They told me to go fly a kite. I said, well, go sit somewhere else. It was this sort of behavior, for example, is not a loving behavior. It's not a considerate behavior. But coming back to your question, no. Knowing yourself as the causeless piece of being and being established as the causeless piece of being doesn't mean there aren't certain addictions at the body-mind level. And it doesn't matter, really. It's your freedom, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
I'm glad you said that about hurting anybody, because I actually was involved, this is some time ago, involved with a teacher who had, he had anger, I think I would call it anger issues, because he would get angry at people right on the meeting, right in the meeting. And he kind of reminded me of, well, it doesn't matter who he reminded me of, but he was just he could be angry, and some of his communication with me was a little bit what I thought was kind of rough. And then I got confirmation. I thought I was making it up in my mind, because I thought this can't be going on with a teacher, with a spiritual teacher. And then I got confirmation for that behavior from his wife, who wrote me and said that he has a tendency to blow up at people, and he can be very harsh. So I stopped going there, because I thought, I don't really want this from a teacher. Like, I can't imagine coming here and having you blow up at one of us. And I guess if you did, I would have to deal with it or whatever. But I just can't imagine you doing that. So I don't know. I get confused about this kind of stuff. Like, I want to be non-judgmental, but at the same time, I imagine that if I had grown more spiritual, let's call it spiritually, and become more, live more as my real self, my as consciousness, I wouldn't have these. I don't think I'd be blowing up at people, for one thing. I wouldn't be teaching classes, and I wouldn't be, I wouldn't put myself at that level. Mm-hmm. Even without any kind of judgment on myself, I wouldn't be doing that to me. I wouldn't be putting anybody else, because it did hurt me on a body-mind level. It was very painful for me to be a part of it and watch that go on. So I'm glad you said that, because addiction is one thing. Smoking, as long as you're not smoking alone and not hurting other people, maybe that might be one thing. But blowing up at people, I think, could be hurtful. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. I just maybe have something to say about that. If you don't, that's fine too.
Yeah. No, you see, there may be an expression that may seem to be abrupt or direct, that is coming from presence, it's coming from understanding at this moment. And the purpose of it is not about your feelings, about my feelings or your feelings, but it's about understanding. So sometimes we may say, you know, seems to be very abrupt, you know, no, all that you're imagining, all that you're telling me that is just a story. It may seem, oh, wait a minute, I'm sharing with you this and that, and you know, my life, and this is going on, and then you tell me this is all a story. But it's not being said because, oh, I know better than you or anything like that, but to sort of somehow invite you to, I'm not speaking about you, I'm speaking generically, inviting the person to possibly consider in that moment that, yes, it's all a story. And sometimes we get it, like sometimes we hear something and it shifts. It's as if the gears, it's as they go clink, you know, they sort of, but not as a method. It's not like, oh, well, yeah, let me hear what you have to say, and I'm going to, you know, pour my truth or anything like. It's not. It may arise. A certain expression may arise on occasion, seeming to be abrupt, but its intention is not abrupt. It's not to be abrupt, and it's arising not out of a certain technique or a certain method. It's arising out of this moment, you know, and it's not something that you repeat. If there is something that you are repeating in general, is something to be looked at. If there is a certain pattern that you're repeating in general, it may be connected with some pattern that you have inherited and picked up, you know. I don't know, you have to sort of see. So I would say if a friend has a tendency to be abrupt or angry, or express themselves this way, if they are my friend and they're open to me, I would be tolerant with them, and I would use whatever opportunities that are become available to speak with them about that, you see. But that's not the relationship that you usually have with your quote unquote teacher friend, you know, it's usually not. So I am wary of teachers who sometimes say, well, your feelings got hurt or whatever is your issue is because maybe it's not said, you know, but it's implied, maybe because you're not enlightened and I am, or something like that, you know, this teacher is enlightened, therefore they can be an asshole, you know. But that's my misunderstanding, because I don't understand that they're enlightened, and being enlightened, you cannot be an asshole. No, that's I don't buy too much that story. See, I don't. There are some traditions that are old traditions. Like I'm thinking of the Japanese Zen tradition, where they are samurai-like, you know, and I mean, there are some traditions in our culture, our grandfathers, you know, our grandparents, how they were and how we are now. It's very different. Times change, cultures change, our way of thinking, our understanding about each other, about the world, about the universe, about reality changes. The science is constantly revealing more and more things, you know, that, so so we have to sort of become free from those traditions and understand that, okay, tradition has its time and place, and not necessarily be relevant today, you see. So in terms of consciousness, we are all consciousness. Everything is conscious. So there's no special consciousness. There's no special somebody, and a teacher who has an understanding is living this understanding, and you can sense that. You can sense in their company this understanding that that there's nothing special, or everything is special, or everybody's special, So in that way, you're not relating from a dichotomy, like a teacher is not on a pedestal and you are, oh my goodness, when will I get it? You say, no, the teaching, at least my understanding is you are that which I am. There's only one I, one consciousness, one reality. And okay, so what if it's veiled by the storyline? We keep reminding ourselves that our experience is experience of awareness. That in fact, we're never not that awareness. We're never not that awareness. So we keep reminding ourselves. And it's okay, because it takes that repetition. It takes, that reminding ourselves and coming back to, okay, well, yes, I'm not the male body or the female body. I'm not my car. I'm not my house. I'm not my bank account. So I am. What is it that I am right now? You come to the silence. You come to the presence. You come to awareness. And the quote-unquote difference between I'm going to use these words, but it's okay, a sage and a non-sage. I mean, this is just very relative language, okay? Is that it's a spectrum, for a sage, you are less and less leaving yourself and being somebody. In ignorance, we keep going back and we keep coming to happiness, and then we go back to, oh my God, what's going to happen to me tomorrow? Why did she do this to me? Did they like me? Did they say the right thing? That's the difference. Is that we forget that the I which appears to me in thought is not what I am. The reference, that thought makes references to I, oh, I was good, I was bad, I did a good thing, I'm a good boy, whatever. That this I that appears to me is not what I truly am. We forget. That's all. That's all. So we try to remember again and again, oh, no, this I which appears to me is not that which I am. I am that which perceives this thought. You see, that's all. That's all. It's to remind ourselves over and over, oh, okay, I see, I got it. There was a nice story about how great I am and how they applauded me and I'm so beautiful. But this is a story that was appearing to me. And the I that was perceiving all that is what I am, is the truth. And that which I am, which perceives the stories, the thoughts and so on, is not a story. It is not a story. It's a reality of consciousness. So we're just reminding ourselves over and over. And also we realize over time that it's difficult to remind ourselves when we get involved in judgment. Oh shit, I screwed it up again. Here I am, I was good last week and I'm failing now, you see. And then you get wrapped up in the judgment. When you get wrapped up in the judgment, you are again in the false me. You're believing yourself to be good or bad, but in fact, consciousness, that which perceives all that, is neither good nor bad. That's why they say God doesn't no sin. There is no sin in God's kingdom. There is no good and bad in God's kingdom. It's just love. It's all love. It's as a way of speaking, you say. You know, there are many ways of speaking about true nature, about reality.
Well, Maggie, if I could add on to this just a little bit, I guess I'm thinking as you were talking, I was listening and then thinking about how, like, I wouldn't, like, I've been listening to you for quite a while, and I've noticed how you handle, you know, interruptions and things like this, and you have a very neutral way of handling it, and even beyond just the non-judgment, you have there's a very calm, peacefulness to you. And then I've also listened to people like Rupert Spira for a long time. I've seen him deal with all kinds of things. And even I was at a weekend seminar with him in Paris, actually, about places. I'm not bragging. I just happen to have been there. And I'm remembering this because there was so much racket going on in the alleyway where where we had the seminar, and it was bothering everybody except for Rupert. And he just kept telling us, you know, this is city life, and this is what we have to deal with, and we have to learn how to be in life and deal with the noises in life and not be bothered by it. So I guess I'm thinking that people who have had a certain amount of real deep understanding of what it is to be consciousness, I get that kind of integration, I think, translates to the body mind being more calm and peaceful. I guess that's why I was bringing this up, and there's a lot more to this that I'm talking about here, but that's part of it. Anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. If you have something to say about it, fine. If you don't, that's fine. I think we.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with you that that there may be preferences, you know, for various body minds, you know, and yes, you may find yourself in situations where it is what it is, you know, and so you sort of deal with it. But the point that I wanted to make is that there is in spite of being sort of transparent to whatever appears, there are certain situations that are more harmonious than others. And I remember, for example, you know, years ago, I gave some retreats in Costa Rica in this sort of monastery. It was with the nuns. There were nuns, and the nuns were very close-minded about Christianity and all of that. And they, whoever organized the retreat, wasn't aware that there was this sort of Jesus and nobody else, you know, sort of a thing. And so this group, the retreat, that, you know, there were some people who were into Buddhism, some people who were into shamanism, whatever, I don't know, whatever. And I didn't like being there. I didn't like, you know, I didn't like the energy of those nuns and the conversations that they were having, and the conversations that I overheard were really very. So I didn't want to go back there again, you see. I also remember another retreat where there were these beautiful, beautiful mountains, you know, in the background. And so in the quote unquote satsang room, there was this beautiful forests, hills and forests. It was so beautiful. I was very happy to be there and to experience this beauty. What I'm saying is that, yes, of course, we adapt to whatever situation we are in, you see. But also there are some situations that are more harmonious, more with the flow, and there are some others that are less so. Now, in your life, you see, this is really beautiful, because in your life, situations arise for you out of left field, so many simple things, you may be cooking something and forget to turn the fire off because you were in the office, and then you come and then the food is burnt. And it may trigger something within you from the past, from you may trip on it, as opposed to sort of dealing with it. It's different. Dealing with something or tripping on it are different things. Dealing is simpler, and it doesn't leave it too much of a trace, but tripping on something leaves a long trace. You're like carrying the past, you see. So in your life, there are situations that arise that are opportunities, for you to make a distinction between dealing with a situation and tripping upon it. Maybe I'm just going on a tangent here, but yes, every opportunity we have as truth lovers, we take it. If possible, we take every opportunity to come to the peace, to contemplate the peace, to contemplate what's going on internally, you see. But in my case, I really like to meet in places that are more peaceful and more quiet, if possible. Although I lived in New York City for 12 years, you see, in Manhattan. And I remember being totally into it, and then at some time it became sort of more and more impossible to stay there. But there is a way to listen to a noise that has, a certain level. I'm not talking about the jackhammer, where you are listening without a judgment, without thinking. You're sort of listening. I remember I used to be in retreats in upstate New York, in Springwater, New York, and it was a beautiful countryside, so beautiful, very quiet, except for the sound of birds, and it was very, very quiet, the sound of nature. But every now and then there would be a plane at the distance, and I would be listening without deconstructing the idea that it's a plane, sort of listening without knowing, listening just listening, the spaciousness of listening. And so the sound takes you to the listening. It's like first there is a sound, and then it's just listening. And in that, there is no separation. Well, there could be a separation, and oh, there is a plane, and here I am, I'm listening to the plane. Oh, I hope it's okay. You know, maybe it's okay, maybe it's not okay, whatever. There is a listening where the object and the subject, they're not separate.
Okay, thanks, Meg. Appreciate it.
All right, Frank. Any questions? Okay, well, if there are no questions, thank you all. Lovely to be with you, George and Mina, Frank, and Trish,
Thank you, Maggie.
Esther, Richard, Marga, John. Hey, John. Na, Isaac. Zoe, are you in Temecula or?
I am. I'm like so jet lagged, Magdi.
Yes. Okay, get some rest. Yes, get some rest.
I will. Thank you.
Grace, hello, Grace. Hello. And, Shiva, salut Shiva, and Charlie. Hey, Charlie, and thank you all, Marga too. Yes, thank you all. Lovely to see you and to be with you.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you, Magdi.
Thank you all.